Here we are on filmsgonewild.com. We're going to be talking with Minna Dufton. She is the director of Big versus Small. Minna, nice to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, let's kick this off. You tell us about the film. What is Big versus Small about?
Big versus Small is a feature documentary about a tiny woman in Portugal who surfs the world's biggest waves and ends up having a very interesting and extraordinary training session with a Finnish freediver under the ice.
Okay, she is a very tiny woman. She's a very strong-willed woman. And I was curious watching this because she is very focused on what she wants to do, how she does it, how she goes about it. And when you have a subject like that, sometimes it's great because there's no wavering on what they're doing, but sometimes that can get in the way of filmmaking if they're not on board with what you're doing. Did that happen at all?
It's a really good question. It's something that I was aware of because, strong women, strong people with goals like to go a certain direction. With Joana Andrade, I felt that, and she kept saying this to me from the very beginning, that we're in the same boat. And that really made me think that she wanted to do this with me. And from the beginning, I kind of chose a very sort of open way of planning everything with her. I did everything with her, basically. We've been very open about everything. And I felt we've gone in the same direction all the time. She's been able to suggest things to me about her life that she might want to kind of show, because there were lots to choose from. She's someone who does a lot more than you see in the film. And it's always, for me, a case of selecting what I want to follow. So we discussed a lot of things, but no, I didn't feel that, the sort of strong willness or that kind of mentality hindered the filmmaking at all. It was something that I was maybe a little bit concerned about, but we managed to kind of get past that, and the whole crew and her and me, we were a big family. So, yeah, and we had to be. We were in very dangerous situations.
Well, you led me right into the next part of this interview, which is, it is a beautiful film to view because you're in Portugal and you're out in the ocean, and then you're in Finland. You're in this snowy freezing environment. But that's the thing. You're filming monster waves, so you're there with her, and then you're filming underneath the ice in sub-zero temperatures. So let's talk about how you made this movie and how difficult that was to shoot it.
It's so interesting to hear you say that. I'm thinking, really? Did I really do that? But yes, we did that. Well, really, there are two sides. Practical side of how we did this. Obviously, I'd never made a surf related film before. Coming from Finland, where surf, we have a surf community, but it's not that big. I had to learn everything from scratch, and I always like to work with people that can teach me and help me develop as a filmmaker. So I chose to work with the best. I hired Tim Nathan, who's one of the best surf cinematographers in the world. Tim is based in Sydney, and he resides in Nazaré, Portugal, over the winter, over the big wave season. I began to plan the big wave surfing filming with Tim very early on, and we spent months sort of talking and planning and making schedules of how we were all going to be there at the, at the season when the waves were going to be there. When you film something where nature is such a big part of, you're at the mercy of weather, wind, temperatures, swells, so many things that affected everything that we did. So planning was key, really. I hate to say it, but then the actual action was easy because we'd planned it so well. We'd sort of talked about it so many times, what we were going to do. I'd made sure that we had all the safety for filming. When you film big waves like that in Nazaré, they can be 30 meters high, 40 meters at worst. Last year, about this time, they were 40 meters high. And Tim goes in there. He actually goes in the water with the camera that weighs 12 kilos with the housing. He has to have his feet tied up to the jet ski that takes him there. That's got to be the most sort of dangerous, one of the most dangerous sort of situations where you can film. So
well, it's out
yeah,
it's out now crazy, because here's the thing, in any normal situation, you are trying to get a moment, you're trying to get a glance, you're trying to get the sight of emotion, like a close-up, you're trying to get this. But here you also need to protect your life as you're trying, and so you have other interests which are basically your own survival, your camera person survival, your crew survival, as you're also trying to get the footage that you need. And so that's why, again, this is a rare situation where I can talk to a filmmaker and go, how are you balancing that in your mind? And even when we're talking about, the section where we're breathing under ice cold water and we're getting that footage, because that's a whole nother challenge.
Yeah.
Again, how were you, was it like day to day where you're going, I really need to get this shot, but how are you guys doing? Can you hang in for another day? What was that, literally that day-to-day production process like for you?
That's a good question. I mean, I spent a lot of time just making plans in the calendar and talking to, obviously, Joana, because she was really the key for the surfing, because I had to know when she was happy to go and surf. Number one was her safety, and then everyone else's safety. We managed the whole thing by just communicating. We had a WhatsApp group where we would share like weather information, and obviously Joana and Tim would discuss things, but when he thought it would be a good day to to surf and film, because the two don't always go together. Nazaré is a very complicated place where weather can change in like 5 minutes. It's really, it couldn't be more challenging, to be honest. But we managed, as a group, we had a great team. I had such great advisors. I'm so thrilled that I spent the time getting to know Nazaré and the community there, the big wave surfing community, because only through getting to know the people, I gathered the right people around me to help me figure out when was best to go. And obviously with my team, Tim was there anyway, because he spends the whole winter there. My DOP, Sakke Kantosalo from Finland, traveled in his own car. He came from Helsinki in Finland and drove to Portugal to stay with us for 3.5 weeks. I flew there with my family, my mother, and we stayed there for a good time last big wave season to get the footage, because without the footage, you don't have a film. So we stayed there until we had enough. We had, a few days of filming the action. Then we had to film the beauty shots of the throwing of the toe, the rope where she catches this, all these shots, close-up shots that are a big part of it. We filmed those. We took time to do all the parts of it, and of course the preparation, and then what happens afterwards. So we spent a lot of time, as much time as we could. I mean, ideally, I would have liked to have spent longer there. You know, you get hungry as you see, you know, oh, I want to, you know, spend more time here, and I wonder, you know, what's going to happen tomorrow. And but yeah, time and patience. We kind of left a gap in our diaries last October to November to get the surfing shots there. And of course, I had backup plans. You know, there were people following Joana in Portugal when I wasn't there, because I live in Finland. And, you know, there was going to be the chance that there was going to be these big waves that she wanted to surf on a day when I wasn't there. So we, you know, we prepared for that. And in Nazaré, there's a great webcam for the big waves that I used on one day when Joana surfed and my crew were there, and they wanted to go and film, and they said, look, you know, I'd already gone home by then, and we were still like maybe a couple of shots short, and they wanted to go out, and I arranged everything, and I had someone there acting as me on the day, and I could watch them on the webcam getting these last few shots. I have to say that was probably the most nerve-wracking day for me, when I was sitting in my office and I was able to be there, and I knew exactly what was happening there. I don't think I breathed much during that session, but we used every kind of means possible to get the shots. And obviously it's a big challenge, you know, because we were on the opposite side of Europe. I mean, Helsinki and Portugal is, you know, a long way away.
Exactly. Well, it's a remarkable insight that you give, not only into Joana's head while she's going through this process, but as you say, as you open us up to that culture and the people that do the big wave surfing, and then the bonus of, you know, the people that that can hold their breaths for 6 minutes at a time.
There's not a lot of those people.
That's amazing. Well, listen, Minna, it's been wonderful to talk to you, and congratulations on the film. Again, the film is Big versus Small. We've been talking to the director, Minna Dufton. Nice to have you on Films Gone Wild.
Thanks for having me.